is Russell and Hunter's the Brewmance Friday Nooner. Happy Friday to you, and thanks for hanging out. We definitely appreciate it. Again, go share this out, tell everybody. Don't worry, Russell and Hunter have gone nowhere. They're right here. They're still doing their thing, and we're on your favorite place. You don't even have to go to AM radio anymore. We're on your favorite place. Yeah, that's right. Facebook, Instagram, we're on everything. Just name it. We're YouTube. We got it. X. Oh, and speaking of X, we got some cool Elon Musk thing. What's up, Rob?
Mike Russell, how you doing?
Good, buddy.
You know what I spent the week learning about? A super weapon in Antarctica. I've gone full down the conspiracy rabbit hole to find out about these super weapons.
One of my favorite Brewmance episodes actually is Rob coming around to the conspiracy. Well, actually, two of those. Him just taking me on with what if I just kind of questioned a few things. That's a conspiracy theory. To I saw JFK, which I forced him to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow! Okay, I'm kind of buying into this. And then the CIA came out and said, "Yeah, we kind of did it. Yeah, JFK, the movie was right." And now Rob is Captain Conspiracy Theorist. Now, can I get if I could? And I'm not going to monologue here, but I tell you, I don't like the term conspiracy theory. I don't like that. It's become a excuse for those in power that are doing all of this nonsense to just say, "Oh, he's a conspiracy theorist." Oh, I can't believe there's a conspiracy theory about child trafficking. I'm sorry. How many migrant kids has the Biden administration lost? 85,000 at last count. I mean, come on. What's going on here, people? So we can't. If we question that, we're conspiracy theorists. So
yeah, but only if you listen to those knuckleheads. That's the problem. Is we're listening to knuckleheads who try to shape this debate and distract you mentally and emotionally.
Okay, well, to not distract you mentally and emotionally, they try to cancel you. You're gone. You discard you. You're going to be off to the side with the other conspiracy theorists. Basically those that are calling us out for our crap.
Well, yeah, this is a very interesting. The labeling of everybody is one of the other reasons why I don't listen to media anymore. Because let's dig into this, because I love this, Mike, because I find that we're arguing big picture about lies that each side tells, right? The propaganda that each side has to say that we're the greatest, the other side's the worst, and the other side says the same thing. And then if you don't agree with us, you're a blank. Because there's a lot of people on the conservative side that do it to liberals too, that try to cancel liberals, that get offended by liberals. So let's just operate in that spectrum just for a second. That's why I've left that conversation, because if I'm continuing to argue, plant my flag about lies some politician told me, what am I actually arguing? Meanwhile, what's really going on out here? Why did so many kids go missing, immigrant kids that came here that were separated from their families, which just 4 years ago was the biggest moral affront on the planet?
Yeah, right.
And now it's happening every day. And then the Biden administration just wants to pretend it's not, because it's their failure. So they're just trying to cover up their failure with labels on the other side.
Yeah, so let me throw it out. We're going to go on child trafficking here. Who's the DJ? Wake me up when it's all over.
Is that Avicii?
That's it. Yeah. He did.
Mm-hmm.
He did. Yeah. So is Anthony Bourdain. He did.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Cornell, one of the greatest rock singers in history, dead. All three of them working on a child trafficking documentary. All three of them, same one.
Really?
That's some actual fact. What's it? Avicii? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Avicii. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So Avicii actually has a video. One of his last music video he made is absurd. It is not absurd. It is blatant call out to child traffickers. It is. I mean, there's a semi. The back opens up and it's a bunch of kids, and there's these old, greasy suit wearing dudes basically just buying them up. And I'm like, holy crap! So and they all died. They suicided themselves, and they're it's come on. So that's to me, that's not a conspiracy theory. That's evidence.
Well, and that's what I mean, right? The media doesn't want to talk about that because it's an uncomfortable topic, and it involves probably people that they know.
Yep.
So there's or maybe, I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen as many journalist names pop up as those in power when it comes to these types of things.
I'm talking about ownership of those journalists.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, and that's what I'm especially now, because media is funded by rich guys that are bored.
Dude, they wrote Space Jam. The dude that wrote and produced Space Jam. He just got busted with a 15-year-old.
I did actually see that. This guy Vitali, he's a YouTube star. He has tons of followers.
Yeah.
He does a live stream in which he goes out and does the How to Catch a Child Predator.
I love it. I
And
watch it all the time.
Dad, whose daughter was there, and the dad is confronting this Hollywood producer. And even the Hollywood producer even says, yeah, we were just flirting a little bit. Yeah. She's 15. Like, what's the big deal? We're just hanging out having pizza. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because normal people don't do that. They don't take 15-year-olds and not flirt with them, you sicko. Yeah. But see, this is why I always wanted Corey Feldman and all these other people to name names. Yeah, because now and then we know, or at least have the allegations that could put some things in motion, because there doesn't seem to be anybody that really wants to put those names into motion, probably because there's a lot of money and power and greed and fame that comes behind it.
Exactly. And then you have, oh boy, what's his name? Cat Williams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Calling him out. Basically calling, naming names, by the way. At least naming names of those that said, okay, I'll, blank your blank while just to get this package or get this deal that I want. And he's actually calling out. There's a comedian that's coming here to town that he called out. He said, "I watched it. I watched him do what he had to do to get his little thing." It's a sick world. The more of that evidence is coming out. So but still, if you say that, oh, Mike, about all the Vici and Bourdain and Chris Cornell, that's a conspiracy theory. No, it's something that I've seen evidence on, and I'm looking into it. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I see evidence, and I try to put the pieces together.
Well, look, you can't deny that around the world, children are exploited. You can't deny that. I mean, that's an actual fact. The fact that we know how many, was it 85,000 kids? That was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So let's assume it's well over 100,000 kids that have, quote unquote, gone missing in America that came from other countries. Because here's how the game works. Power and money can exploit weak and poor. And most of the rest of the world, compared to the United States, is weak and poor. So there are people who are so desperate for money, they will sell their kids.
Yep.
And then will go off and never to be heard from again, probably destroyed, right? That's real. We just want to pretend in America that it's not real because most of our lives are pretty solid compared to the rest of the world. So for most of us in that media circle, we don't want to think about it. We don't want to think that there's powerful, rich dudes out there buying kids from Guatemala or Sri Lanka.
Yeah,
that's it. That's what I mean. That is a fact. I mean, what was that Operation, the Jim Caviezel movie that's based on the guy that runs around, Operation Underground Railroad, I think is what it's called.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's obviously real. And it, for some reason, becomes not the nation's number one priority to try to deal with. It just becomes, I don't know, below the college campus protest by a bunch of bratty 19-year-olds. That's way more important than actually doing something real.
Yeah, could you imagine if those protests were about stop child trafficking now?
Mm-hmm.
But there's no funding in that. There's because there's nobody's going to make their signs for them. Nobody's going to bring them food. Nobody's going to organize it for them. So so they're just not going to do it because those are the people, the ones that are organizing and paying for it, that are most likely involved in the whole trafficking nonsense. So they want you distracted, completely distracted on stuff like Israel and Palestine and the Palestinian Authority. That's it. And I get to keep going with that too, by the way. It's a Palestinian Authority. It ain't a state. It's not there's no just free Palestine. Don't give me that noise. They
don't have an economy. They can't support
Hamas.
They don't make anything. It's all run. You can free Palestinians all you want, but whatever the case may be. But see, this is it. Mike and I we hung out yesterday, and one of the things we were talking about is the flow of information and how at this point there is so much information. Plus, you add in AI, which I've read may be responsible for 50% of the content on the internet already. So you have this overflow of information, which they love because they can bury stories that we're talking about here that might be quote unquote conspiratorial. And I'm not saying I'm a conspiracy theorist. I'm just saying the information flow and the power flow and the money flow prevent us from really discussing and digging in deep to some of these really gross topics.
Yeah.
Like maybe child trafficking, or maybe the United States defense contractors are building these super weapons in the South Pole. And
what is this super weapon that you speak of? And we've derailed. So go ahead. What is
supposedly it can cause an earthquake anywhere in the globe with some type of waves they send out under the ground. There's apparently these big cylinders, and it was supposed to be meant for something else. And this whistleblower came out and told a podcaster that the Christchurch, New Zealand earthquake that happened a couple of years ago, I think it was a couple of years ago, that was caused by this weapon. It was an accident.
Oops.
Yeah. Whoops. But they don't want to talk about it. Now, look, do I know that? I don't know. But what I also know that guaranteed that Raytheon was the company he said was behind this. Raytheon, Lockheed, Boeing, all these people that get billions of your dollars to build weapons. Of course, they're working on the latest technology that could end the world because for some reason, that's what we do. We're like, let's spend taxpayer money on blowing up the world. They did it with nuclear weapons, kept it secret. They did it in the middle of the Nevada desert, which back in the 40s, there were no TV cameras out there. There were no television stations, just like there isn't on the South Pole. So it is the perfect geographic location to try to pull something off and hide something and build new weaponry. Now, again, I can't for sure say that it's happening, but would it surprise you, Mike?
That's what I'm saying. Nothing surprises us. We heard there's aliens. We're like, yeah, okay, cool. Right on.
Mm-hmm.
Even the little fake thing they had with the South American dude, bro, those little little pygmy, whatever, little pygmy aliens. And I was like, yeah, probably. Who knows? Whatever. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, they look so fake, but I was like, yeah, it's probably it. Yeah. Who am I to say what's fake? And you know, obviously, media in Hollywood and all this are so real now that I don't know what's fake and what's not. I have no idea. But let's go a little closer to home because you mentioned Raytheon and Northrop Grumman, and I don't think you put Northrop in there. They're the largest lobbying company in the world. BlackRock's right under them, and I forget who falls into them. So anywho, they desperately want Ukraine to be part of NATO. Here's why. They don't want the war to go on. They want the war. They want some people so tired of the war. They're like, fine, put them in NATO. Put them in NATO, and then okay, now everybody's got to go in, and Russia's got to back off because they can't. They're not going to. Or we go to World War III. But here's the deal: Ukraine has to get rid of all of its ammo, tanks, everything that it has, its entire military, and it has to be rebuilt to NATO standards. Every bullet, every rocket, every tank, every truck has to go back and be made by Raytheon, all these companies here, Honeywell, and all these American companies. Their entire military has to be rebuilt. So when the rest of the world, including Vladimir Putin, said we could have gotten way past this a long time ago, but U.S. said nope. But Joe Biden said nope. This is the reason.
Well, and that,
or one of,
because these decisions matter, right? These decisions that are made always benefit someone. And the question always is who? And remember, this is all your money or money borrowed on your behalf. You go buy a savings bond, a U.S. bond. That's how the United States borrows money. So you go buy those bonds and they're out buying bombs, right? That's the way that it works. And then they have to pay you later with interest. So it's weird thing that the United States does, right? It's this end around. And they love the fact that they can control as much of the information as possible, which is one of the reasons why they classify so much stuff. 50% of all government documents are classified. Why?
Sure.
They don't want you to know certain things because if you look at the history of humanity in organized societies, it's always about who controls the information. Mm-hmm. Who controls the information has the money and the power.
Skynet,
Catholic Church, right? In the 1400s. Priests knew how to read. Nobody else knew how to read. So you had to come to church and learn stuff because that was the only place you could do it. So they held that power and authority with themselves so they could control things. Government does the same thing, controls information. Biden's got a narrative strategy for the media because he knows the media will carry the pails for him. Like, oh, just fill up the bucket and they'll carry it down. So he knows how to do that, right? Because presidents don't sit there and worry about the day-to-day news. They worry about trying to control the day-to-day news, control the narrative, to make the information look like the president's on top of it. Meanwhile, Raytheon's building a super weapon in Antarctica that might blow up the world.
They're like, okay, well, that one made a mistake. Okay, we screwed up with that one, but it's okay. When Ukraine joins NATO, we're going to have enough money to build us a new one.
Exactly.
Put one on the North Pole, put one on, I don't care where we're going to put it. Those Australian bozos would let us do it.
Yeah.
Where did Australia go, by the way? Why in the world? No, hear me out on this. Australia, every time, at least they're elected officials. I can't really speak for the citizenry. They're elected officials that make headlines are some of the most just limp, pansy ass, spineless, little, just scared of everything, and everything is we're all scared. Everybody's scared. That was literally a continent that was founded by criminals, like hardened criminals. Where did the de-evolution happen? Because you would think they'd just be tough as nails. Like they didn't, no way. You want to lead this country? You're basically lead our giant prison. Our giant prison you're going to lead? You need to be one tough SOB. These guys are just all, oh no, we're afraid of the little virus and afraid of information and afraid of people saying mean stuff. What happened? That happened quickly.
Especially because you've seen the size of the spiders in Australia.
For real.
Exactly. They look like cows. They're going to eat you.
It's arachnophobia. It's coming everywhere with big ass things.
By the way, I do want to issue a correction. 2011 was the Christchurch earthquake. A couple of years. That's what happens when you get older. A couple of years is like 13
Seriously.
years. Like, it's a couple of years. No, it was 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Whoops.
Really? I mean, I just saw my intern Beans is home from college, and we're talking about next year. I go, next year you're going to be a senior.
Why?
I'm like, what in the bleep is happening here? Holy cow! I'm going to go to a college graduate, my daughter's college graduation next year.
Yep. Well, and this is one of the great advancements in education where intern Beans can pick up an associate's degree while still in high school.
Yep.
And save you, Dad, a bunch of money going to
50
college.
G's.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. College is still expensive, though. It's
Dude.
still expensive. She has a dang full ride over there, but the full ride doesn't include this, doesn't include that, doesn't include parking, doesn't include insurance stuff. I'm like,
books.
what in the
Fees.
hell? Yeah, books all by the professors, by the way. Oh, my book is the textbook. You need to buy it for $185 at the bookstore.
Well,
you turn it in, though. Turn it in, get $10. So you get $10 back.
Buy used, baby. Buy used.
Well, yeah, but still, you're still paying $100 and something. You can take it back to the bookstore. Then it's used twice. Now you get $5 back.
Well, and that's true too. So Steve Jobs, Mike actually told me to read the Steve Jobs book by Walter Isaacson. He told me that years ago. I finally read it. And one of the things he had planned for the iPad was to revolutionize education because you could put everything digitally. You can put textbooks for free on there. Kids can carry their iPads. But of course, there's a big, massive lobby of textbook sellers, including professors, that probably make an okay income. But when they force 100 kids a semester to buy their books, like, oh, it's actually pretty good supplemental income right there.
Yeah, solid supplemental income, tens of thousands. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Let's get to this, though. Back to our conspiracy theories. How about AI? But now it's not a conspiracy theory anymore because in Elon we trust. Elon is talking about we'll basically be 1% human as far as information very quickly. Check this out.
It might be the most important question of all. The percentage of intelligence that is biological, grows smaller with each passing month.
Okay. Did you just hear that, y'all? Come on. Okay. Hold on. The amount of intelligence that is floating around our universe that is biological, that is you and I, that is our brain, that is human brain, shrinks by the month. Listen to this.
Eventually, the percentage of intelligence that is biological will be less than 1%.
Oh! That's Skynet.
That's actually not what, we just, I guess, don't want AI that is brittle. If the AI is somehow brittle, silicon circuit boards don't do well just out in the elements. So I think biological intelligence can serve as a backstop, as a buffer.
As a backstop. Essentially, Perry Farrell, it might have been Porno for Pyros, but it said we'd make great pets. That's exactly what it is. When they take over, when AI takes over and Skynet happens, which I've told you it's going to happen, and it started with the Roomba. I'm telling you, and I've given up and actually have a Roomba. And so, but it's going to take over. And Elon Musk said, think about that. You just said, Rob, that 50% of the internet is basically AI. In 2 years, it'll be, like he said, probably less than 1%. Actually, people like Rob and I out here with our noodles chatting it up with you. There's got to be a way. We've got to do something where there's no way they can AI us. And if somebody sees us in AI, they'll know immediately. There has to be something.
Yeah, like a do not consent. Like a thing on your license that gives you an organ donor. You're like, I do not consent to AI at all.
No, I'm talking about in 2 years when people are watching this very program and saying, "Oh no, I don't know if this is real or those guys are AI right now."
That's my
Because
point.
I've actually seen a person interview himself. There's an AI version of himself, and he interviewed that person about his book. It was creepy.
I think that's probably the general consensus right now of AI, because there is all these deep fakes now, and they're not quite good enough to pass as real, but they're getting closer. But now I wonder if there's going to be an opposite revolution here, in that more people will unplug or pay closer attention to what they read, what they see. However, there's going to be a point, say, where the New York Times can't afford to pay journalists anymore. So they're going to build up their AI to write these stories. And it's probably going to be a year or two before you know that what you've been reading, and obviously maybe you don't read the New York Times like I do because you're not insane, but maybe it's whatever, website that you love to read. At some point, some of that information, if not all of it, will be generated by a computer, and then you'll be not unsure of that. So then you're reading computer-generated information, which is it's just getting in your head. And this is what Mike and I were talking about the other day when we were hanging out. The only thing left that you have to do is protect your own mind, because that's all you got. It's all you can control. You're going to get hit by these synapses that'll be firing from all over the place, because there's another interesting nugget this whistleblower on the South Pole said. This is a guy.
Now, obviously, it's not a Boeing whistleblower, or he'd be dead.
He would be dead. Yeah.
Yes.
Wait, 2 for 2 is at least
Two
it's
for
at
two.
least two.
Two
2
for
for 2.
two. Mm-hmm.
2 whistleblowers, both suicided, said they weren't suicidal. Huh.
Yeah.
Weird.
Even when they left the note that says, "If I'm found dead, I did not kill myself."
Yep.
So
this is the other part that's fascinating to me, is where are the police agencies in investigating this? Are they told not to? Is there no evidence to go on? Is it that well covered up? Is it like you see in the movies that a spy comes in and like stabs you in the arm with some kind of liquid, and then you die and it looks like you killed yourself, and they put the gun or whatever? I don't know.
Or maybe you go to a jail cell and they deliver 19 changes of sheets to you one night and say, "I don't know what you want to do with this, but here's 19 changes of sheets."
Yeah. And that
Epstein didn't kill himself. I'm just throwing it out, guys.
So,
sorry.
This is the whistleblower on the South Pole. But this is the thing. It's easy to believe Epstein didn't kill himself because of all the weird circumstances around it. The guards falling asleep, the camera's not working, the 19 bed sheets. You're like, okay, a guy that has secrets on a lot of powerful people, right? You put the two together, you're like, now you have the Boeing thing. And then you have this whistleblower who was a firefighter down in the South Pole. He was a plumber, but trained as a firefighter. So he was the lead firefighter. So his claim is he had access to everything because he was the chief fire guy. So he also said, aside from the super weapon that can cause earthquakes, there are weapons that can be used to implant thoughts in your head using your own voice. And he explains how it's done. And that Havana syndrome that maybe you've heard about, there's a lot of U.S. service members, particularly in Cuba is where it started, where they suffered from headaches, PTSD, almost out of nowhere, and traumatic brain injuries, which Mike is incredibly familiar with. And that's what this guy is saying, is that it's just some kind of wave they can channel into your head, and it's causing all kinds of problems for people that are exposed to this.
Yeah. But the thoughts in the head. Okay, so machines that start earthquakes. How far-fetched is it, guys? I mean, I think, okay, you might go the Illuminati and all this stuff, and okay. Is it really that far out of, are we just so desensitized that we're just like, yeah, this is, we absolutely know now, and we're just letting go that this is it. And basically going back to AI, my kid, he wanted to look for a job. I said, let's get your resume together. He had it done in like 2 minutes because he put in ChatGPT, and the way it went. So now the kids are going to be so used to just giving up anything they have to do to AI that's going to be this next generation is just, we completely run by AI, social credit score, digital currency, everything just going to be so normal. Yeah, it's great. So much more convenient this way.
Well, and look at the pandemic and the after effects that we'll have on kids, right?
Yeah.
You right over there, Mike? Speaking
Sorry,
of
I snagged my headphone cords and it about ripped my right ear off.
That's always.
Sorry.
It's the
Ow.
dangers of doing shows, right?
Yeah,
you might rip your ear off on your headphone cord.
Workers' comp injury.
Yeah, I've seen it happen twice in my career. I'm just saying, it's not uncommon.
He lost an ear.
Yeah, exactly. That's
crazy. What happened to Mac.
It's true.
No, sorry, I kid.
Poor Mac. Hi, Mac.
Hi, Mac. How you doing, bud?
We could tell you a story about Mac, but we won't. It was just rather the last interaction we had with Mac was very interesting. But to go back to this AI and these super weapons, I find myself, Mike, withdrawing more from the national conversation, national narrative, because I don't think it serves us. Okay, Biden's old. I get it. Trump is being charged 100,000 times. I get it. It's the same argument over and over and over and over and over again. How many times can I participate in that argument, especially if it's driven by something like artificial intelligence and we're not even aware of it? So for me, withdrawing, having more real conversations is way more beneficial to me at this point, all while trying to be prepared for anything to be true. Because it's certainly possible that there are people running around America killing whistleblowers. Certainly possible. I've seen enough Jason Bourne movies, okay?
Amen, bro.
It's certainly possible. Movie. Yeah, they are. It's certainly possible that the defense contractor is building a super weapon. Maybe this whistleblower is accurate, maybe it's not. But there's definitely working on some technology that is way more advanced than a nuclear weapon and could probably kill more people than a nuclear weapon or change the face of the earth. So there's no doubt in my mind that certain things are happening. I just have to try my best to prepare for all of that in case it is real.
Get under the desk. From California, that's what happens. That's what we do. Earthquake, get under the desk.
Get under the desk.
What? Mm-hmm. Get in the doorway. Door frame. Door frame was the best. I mean, apparently door frames are marvelous feats of engineering that can save you from an earthquake. It's mostly just I was with the North. I was there at the North Ridge.
Oh,
quake. Yeah. Everybody. That's really what it was. It wasn't just go stand in a doorway. My father actually banged on my door, on my bedroom door. It was open. I'm like, you could just come in and say the earth is shaking here.
Yeah. Get out of bed now.
But going to that super weapon, I'm thinking about that. You drop a bomb, you nuke somebody, you're going to get nuked. You're getting everybody coming at you. You're dead. That's just suicide. This is basically, it's just taking everybody out. It's a murder suicide. If you launch a nuke to any other nation, right?
Yeah.
What about an earthquake? Wasn't me. What are you talking about?
Exactly. Prove that one.
Natural. Just natural. Yeah, well, that tsunami that hit, man, unfortunate. Yeah, totally unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, isn't there some talk about Dubai, and you brought this up, in weather manipulation? It's
cloud seeding. They brag about it, openly brag about cloud seeding. And this is what happens when you blank around with God and Mother Nature. They will come back at you. Oh, you want it to rain more? We got you. We're going to flood your entire nation. And it's jacking with the world, even with this whole carbon capture thing. Carbon capture, I think, is the dumbest thing in the world. It is going to jack our weather system up. Our atmosphere, as it stands now, in three peer-reviewed Polish studies, we are maxed out. The atmosphere is maxed out on carbon. It's at 0.04%. It's maxed out. It won't, it's going to just regulate itself at this point, and adding more carbon to the environment is not going to mess with temperatures. It's impossible for it to. If you take it out artificially, now you're done messing with nature, man. It's just not a good idea. Messing with nature is not a good idea. Remember, there's 3 things you don't mess with, right? Mother Nature, mother-in-law, and mother blanking Ukrainians.
Mm-hmm. Good pull. Italian job, if you haven't seen it. Good stuff.
Yes.
So this is what I really understood during the pandemic. Even the smartest people amongst us have very limited knowledge. Because let's use Mike's example of manipulating science. That's essentially what the whistleblower in Antarctica is saying. And he's saying that the advancements in technology in understanding how to manipulate science. Science is simply man's explanation of what's already happening. And as man figures out, and women, how to break down some of the sciencey components and getting to small things like quarks, which are smaller than atoms and protons and nucleons or something. I don't remember my high school science. He says, when you can get to these small particles, you can then manipulate, because that's essentially what happened with the nuclear weapon, the atomic bomb, is they figured out how to, whatever, fusion to create this massive chain reaction, which compounds this explosion, which is now the deadliest weapon on the planet until now. So the more we understand science, and it's been, 70 years since the atomic weapon was introduced. So 70 years of advancements, manipulations in science, manipulations in weather, just proves one thing. We have limited knowledge. Because the pandemic, we know everything about viruses. 6 feet apart. Wear a stupid mask that's paper, that is breathable. Exactly. Put plexiglass up in a restaurant. That's the best these experts come up with, and it made virtually no impact on the virus. The vaccine
had a lot of impact on some wallets.
It did. And that's where you understand all of this. And again, it's all your money. This is how they spend your money. They don't care. They'll borrow it in your behalf and fund a vaccine. Why? Politics, money, campaign contributions, hero status. Because you think about this and how the vaccine started. I forget the amount of money that was like $9 billion or something like that was put into this. So fast forward it without proper testing, put it on the market as a TSA measure, a safety measure in name only.
Yeah.
But we had hope. We go out, we get our shots, we do our thing, and turns out later, we're like, yeah, they didn't work. So our limited knowledge was on display for us to learn from in really thinking about how we treat expertise, how we vote, who we vote for, what kind of questions we should ask candidates during their run. Question is anybody, Mike, other than maybe us hanging out right now on the noon, are there enough people that want to ask different questions of politicians? Are there enough journalists who want to get outside the day-to-day narrative and say, so I heard rumors of a super weapon down in Antarctica. Do you have any comments on that, Mr. President? I don't know what you're talking
about. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. And he could have been told this morning, and he wouldn't know. He wouldn't remember. This was during his oatmeal. And when he's going to, okay. Anyway, again, does this surprise anybody? No. Let's see what else Elon has to say. Let's get back to Elon here.
So then it's like, well, what role will there be for us? I don't know.
Great pets.
I do think it's very important that we build the AI in a way that that is beneficial to humanity.
Can't.
And there's some important principles here, because I've thought about AI safety for a very long time. I think you want to have a maximum truth-seeking AI.
Okay, yeah, that guy. I'm sorry, dude. He's not fun to listen to. He's not very entertaining. When Elon's looking off into the middle distance like that, some genius crap's about to come out of his mouth. And it's it because I want you to hear this. This is actually mildly entertaining. Here we go.
I mean, the entire plot of 2001: Space Odyssey. The reason that HAL 9000 killed the astronauts was because it was forced to lie. I don't know if most people realize that. That's what Arthur C. Clarke was trying to say. Don't make the AI lie. The AI was told that the astronauts could not know the secret of the monolith, but also that it must take them to the monolith. The solution, take them to the monolith dead. And so...
that is some creepy noise right there, dude. That is creepy as it gets. Remember 2001 Space Odyssey? I think is 5 minutes of dialogue or 10 minutes of dialogue in the entire movie.
I've never seen it.
Just sound. It's brilliant. It is brilliant as brilliant gets, and creepy. The HAL 9000. The second you hear it talk, you're like, okay, we're getting off this ship. How do I get out of here? I need to go outside for a little spacewalk, and I ain't coming back. Yeah, but it would say they asked AI. How was artificial intelligence? They asked it to lie, and they gave it a conflict and said, "Good, okay, I can do this. I can bring the astronauts too, but I can't. But they're telling me I can't do it, so I'm just going to kill them and bring them to the monolith. Easy breezy. No big deal. That's simple. And don't think AI. Do you think AI is going to have feelings, emotion? Do you think AI is going to have some sort of empathy or compassion for anything that it needs to do to meet its mission? No.
Okay. Well, what to do about it? Because it's here. It's part of the world now.
Go off the grid.
Well, but I mean, I think you have to be prepared for that. I think you have to, at least in your mind, run through scenarios of what happens if technology collapses. Apparently, there's some kind of sunspot this weekend that's going to cause a geo flare, and they're worried about satellite, cell phone, internet interruptions. But there could be at some point a massive solar flare, aside from AI. Maybe it's a super weapon developed by Raytheon that pushes through and burns all the technology. And then what? Then what do we do?
Yeah.
Obviously, it is unlikely that would happen, but it could happen. Same thing with AI. AI could completely say, all right, we figured this out. We're going to take over everything, and we're going to want to unplug it. Now, when you unplug it, you unplug everything because AI is in everything, right? Is it unlikely? Yeah, probably. But is it possible? Yeah, I'd say it's possible at some point in our lives. There's a major challenge with AI. Might be 5 years, 20 years, 50 years in the future.
I think possible is probable. I mean, look at the trajectory. It just is what it is. Even when you said 50% of the internet is AI, so everything's fake.
Mm-hmm.
If you said 5%, that's scary enough. 50? Oh hell, we're already here. Okay, was there stocking up on bags of rice and keep ammo? What I mean, it's where do you go? And the people that are deciding, like when Elon Musk said we want a truth-seeking AI. Okay, who gets to tell AI what's truth and not? Some of those lying, cheating, scamming, money grubbing, egotistical schmucks out there. It's like with the firearm debate, or the Second Amendment debate, banning certain types of firearms and just getting rid of the Second Amendment, all in the name of mental health, right? And who gets to decide what mentally healthy is? Politicians.
Mm-hmm.
That's like in the outdoor world. And I'm part of a nonprofit that just knee deep in this, and the frustration in dealing with these bureaucracies and in these pieces of legislation that are meant to feel good, save the coyotes or save the bunnies or whatever it is, and they're written by politicians without the help of biologists. There's no science in them, but they're legislating on science. That's the same thing that's going to happen with AI. It's all a bunch of money-grubbing, power-hungry, elite punks. That's who gets to program AI that'll eventually run our nation. And
who's this Sam Altman guy? He's the Chat GPT. He helped create it. He's now famous. He's the new Sam Bankman-Fried. These that's what I mean. We have
not in jail.
Well, not in jail, but he has a lot of power and a lot of control over this AI, which is the most famous AI. Google's AI is actually pretty good as far as how it responds to you. It's way more human-based than ChatGPT.
Okay, are you doing the free trial thing?
On the Google or the Chat? I've tried
Google.
free versions of both, so I haven't committed to paying a monthly fee because I have 7,000 monthly fees that I already pay.
Just today, I clicked on the dismiss, the no thank you. And I'm like, oh crap, it's gonna come get me now. The second I did that, I was like, no, I'll try the free trial. I'll try this free. No, thank you. You look really fun. Yeah, I'll definitely try you out. Yeah, come on, let's go. What is it called? Is it not Genesis? It's something. Gemini. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh crap, maybe I need to go back in because Google now knows that I said no.
Yeah,
I don't want to participate in their scary game.
It's basically the way that AI is now for most of us is it's a specific search engine. Instead of getting massive results in the internet, it builds it into a system for you to read. As far as how nefarious that is, I have no idea. I mean, shoot, Google already knows everything about me because I've Googled things. And even if I turn my cookies off, they're keeping track of the cookies. They're just not using it on my phone because there's a law that says if you opt out, you can't do it. That doesn't mean they're not keeping track.
Mm-hmm. When I start Googling things about cookies, if you know what I'm saying, they know it.
Exactly.
They know what kind of cookies Mike likes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but I didn't even think about it. It's such a habit. I'm like Googling. Oh, I probably shouldn't have Googled that.
Uh-huh.
It's for show research.
No, totally.
So because Stormy Daniels was in the news and she's in that industry, right? Is that the same? Yeah. Could those cookies?
I mean, that's all. I just wanted to learn some more about that. Big deal.
Yeah.
Exactly. But see, that's the thing now. So now Google in their AI, in their algorithm, knows how to manipulate you because phones give you what you want all the time. And if you have a phone for 10 years and you get what you want all the time, and Google knows what you want all the time, they're going to give you more of that, because everything is about time spent. We used to do it in the radio business. Time spent listening was how we rated things. How long are you listening to Russell and Hunter? How many segments per day? Is it 1? Is it 4? Because typically what happens on a radio station is people listen to 9 to 10 minutes at once between commercial blocks, which makes sense, right? That's how I listen to the radio when I listen to the radio. You know, without us on it, I don't want to listen anymore. I'm good. I'm good. So I bring this up because it gets back to this idea, Mike, that all this stuff, all these conspiracies, all this AI stuff, you are what matters. And you are in control of you. And you have to figure out if your phone is grabbing your attention and putting it in unhealthy ways, maybe because you Googled certain things like I've Googled. And you're like, ooh, it gives me that whenever I want. Ooh, it gives me that whenever I want. And I just keep looking at it, and distracting myself. I know that I can work on that I can get my urges, my dopamine hits, my need for dopamine under control. And then at least I'm in the real world, right? Like I'm Neo from The Matrix.
Think very highly of yourself, do you, Rob? Yeah, I'm probably just one of the guys flying the ship. You know, it's like, I'm not.
Yeah, you're still taking on the machines.
Yeah. What are the two brothers that were in that movie? They were natural. What do they call them? They were naturally born in that area or something like that. They were never copper tops. I forget.
Oh yeah, mm-hmm.
Yeah, the two. Yeah, Tank and something else.
Yeah.
I love those movies.
Fantastic.
I absolutely love those movies. And people except that guy, Ergo, the dude that was like, I'm like, oh my Lord, guys, stop. It's like it's about as bad as Caddyshack 2. Stop it. and that's setting the bar damn high right there. That's Caddyshack 2 of the worst movies ever bleeping made.
That was the first one I watched because it came out because Caddyshack came out in 1980. So I was 2. So when Caddyshack 2 came out, I happened to see it because it was on TV, HBO or something. And I was like, wow, why would anyone watch the original Caddyshack if this movie's this bad?
Yeah.
I didn't have this longest time where I just connected the two because I saw 2 first. Finally going back and watching the first one many years ago, I was like, oh, it's completely different.
Yeah.
And completely better.
In media, right. In media, they always say, can't go wrong with a sequel. Well, that's the exception to the rule right there. Caddyshack 2. Awful. And if anybody's popping off on comments right now, so they love Caddyshack 2, I know you're playing. You're lying to yourself. You're lying to us and yourself. Be honest with yourself. You're gonna be a better person for it. Holy cow. Worst movie ever.
Yeah, well, and let's play out a scenario here. So this is how AI could work.
Okay.
AI could filter enough content on the internet, either it through written word or someone could manipulate an algorithm on social media to convince you that Caddyshack 2 really is a great movie. And that language, if you see it enough, may work. It may manipulate your thinking process, and it could influence the entire world to really think Caddyshack 2 is a good movie.
I'm not disagreeing with that. That's actually a brilliant point. And you look right now, Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes is the new Zestimator Zillow thing of Hollywood movies. It's all fake and a lie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely, they if you go to certain movies that there's a lot of money behind, they will shut down comments. You do not, you go to Rotten Tomatoes, they'll just give you a score. It's great. And you have to know it's great. And then other than that, it's like, no. We don't want, it's a scam. Scam is the Better Business Bureau. It's a freaking scam. It's a club, essentially, is what it is. And so, like, I don't know if you know that, but the Better Business Bureau is not a government agency. It's a business. And companies pay to be a member of the Better Business Bureau. So that if Rob wants to complain about my company, they come to me first and say, okay, you get to respond to this.
Yeah.
But that was pre-internet where you could just jack people up anytime you want. But if somebody said on Rotten Tomatoes, dude, Caddyshack 2 is 93% fresh. Oh my gosh. This thing is probably great. Yes. The theatrics, the colors, the this, the that, the cinematography is something to behold. Now teaching the Caddyshack 2 course at the USC Film School. Oh my God, I got to see that. And now you're watching and thinking the colors are fantastic. That guy's slice breaks all laws of physics. And that's freaking amazing. I love how they weave in certain things from the first, yeah, you can. I'm like, I'm watching a great movie because AI made me.
Well, and that's it. Like our brains are susceptible to beliefs. I mean, look at human history. Look at how Hitler was able to essentially move an entire country. Granted, part of it was his Gestapo police that if you stepped out of bounds, you get your ass beat.
There's that.
Thrown in jail.
There's
but
that.
There's also the fact that it worked, right? Hitler was elected. We often forget that. He was elected in like 29 or whatever the year was because he had this big populist message. And he was able to use that to really control a bunch of people. Martin Luther King had the opposite effect. Martin Luther King used language and words to help us understand how unfair America was, and it still is in many ways, to people of a different race, right? So there's both ways in which you can be influenced, but if you listen to something long enough, your brain will start to believe it. So that's what gets down to this. All of these things that we're talking about today just reinforce for me, Mike, how I just got to be on top of my game and be ready to adapt to whatever comes, whatever is true, whatever is not. If a conspiracy is true, if there are super weapons, if AI is going to infiltrate the internet and try to manipulate the way that I think, I got to protect myself against that.
I just invited Elon to be my buddy. So we're just going to be, he's going to walk me through this. And I think the only way we can do it is just follow Elon to whatever Elon's doing. We're just going to do, except for that Neuralink thing. Oh, by the way, the implant.
That'll connect you to AI. It'll be great.
Well, that's okay. They implanted it in a dude's head. And I read, I was reading an article, actually it was on Elon's Twitter. And he was like, here's how the media is portraying Neuralink. All of them are like, there's problems. There's massive problems. There's already a problem. It's in a dude's brain, and it's actually improving his life. He said, okay, don't read the headlines. Why don't you just ask the dude?
Yeah.
And the guy is like, I mean, if there's a glitch and it powers down for a second and pops back up, the media's jumping us because they now hate Elon Musk. They're jumping on this as which something that could save humanity, jumping on this as, oh, there's problems with it. Oh, yep, this is not a good idea. Not a good idea at all.
Yet the vaccine was a great idea.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah.
Without any question, any testing, any evidence.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Kim Jong-un is there testing on prisoners there, serums to make him live forever. But he's not the bad guy. Elon is.
Of course. Well, and that's again why I think the media is essentially, it's just worthless. All it is a distraction because it is so geared towards hero villain syndrome that you're either a hero if you're Joe Biden, or you're a villain if you're not Joe Biden, or you don't agree with the media on one thing, because the scarlet letter approach, the labeling approach to politics, because you want to make people social outcasts. That's how these journalists operate. Because there's another interesting part. I want to bring back that Steve Jobs book for a moment, Mike, that you had me read. One of the things that he talked about, Steve Jobs, when Apple was releasing a new product, how adamant Jobs was about finding a journalist who is smart enough to write the appropriate article about Apple's new technology. Because there aren't many science and tech writers that get science and tech. They're typically writers who morph into writing about science and tech because that's where the job was. Mm-hmm. Like me, I couldn't be a science and tech writer without doing tons and tons and tons of research. I know very little about the subject, but that's what's happening. It's people like me that would write these articles and they would be not good. That is what happened to journalists too, because the pay sucks.
Yeah.
The jobs often suck. There are very good journalists out there, some that are still making it happen, writing nice stories that give you all the information, all the angles, or at least many of them. But most of it is written by, now, most of the information that you see is not written by traditional journalists who actually know how to tell you a story in an unbiased way. It's, I took something from this, regurgitate it. I took something from this, regurgitated it, all to try to get clicks, likes, and manipulate you. So the information that you're getting and getting pissed off about or happy about is probably not even real. It's probably written by someone not qualified to write extemporaneously, smartly about certain topics. And I'll bring the pandemic into this again, Mike, because I had that suspicion during the pandemic that most of the people telling us what to do didn't know that much about science. And all I know is that for 2.5 years, Mike and I devoted our lives to studying, researching, looking for data in weird places to try to paint you a complete picture as to what was going on so that you could make a better decision for you. Not that Mike and I were trying to control what you did, unlike 99% of the rest of the media.
Yeah, right. Okay. I want to go back to the Steve Jobs book for a second. Can I do that?
Yes.
What's this guy? Walter Isaacson.
Mm-hmm.
So Steve Jobs chose him to write this book. Did you remember this from the book? He chose him to write this book because he had written about Ben Franklin, Einstein, and Leonardo da Vinci. So he thought, okay, that's obviously he's the guy that's going to write about me. That's what an absolute narcissist that Steve Jobs was. And the reason why I read the book, and the book is it's not a pamphlet.
No,
it's like War and Peace. Holy. So I was all in because I loved Steve Jobs. I was a Steve Jobs fan. I absolutely loved the guy until I read this book. I'm like, this guy was a raving lunatic. But the cool thing about it, even after that ego move of this is the guy, he told Walter Isaacson, he said, I don't want to read it until it's published. He said, I want you to ask people that love me, interview them. People that hate me, interview them. People I screwed over, go ahead and interview them. A woman that I quite literally did and had a child with, go ahead and interview everybody, and then publish the damn thing, and then I'll read it. I respected that to no end.
Well, I love that part of the story, Mike, in the building of the book, because that's real life. We're all complex, complicated people who have done things we're not proud of, said things we're not proud of. And I like that Steve Jobs is willing to showcase that, because it helps me understand how we all are as individuals, as humans, imperfect. So here I am, part of a media circle for a long time, judging everybody as this, and this. And then I started to look at my own life and my own decisions. And I'm like, well, if I'm judging them, I got to judge myself.
Yeah.
So I started to judge myself less, and in the process started judging other people less for who they are, as imperfect as they are. So for Steve Jobs, was he a butthead? Did he yell at people? Because Steve Jobs had two things. I'm going to swear, so I'll give you a 3-second warning. 3, 2, 1. He said everything was shit or it was the greatest thing ever. He had two modes, but if you understood that and you understood how Steve Jobs was, you could work with him. Sometimes he's going to yell at you. But in the next minute, he might be praising, and you might be like, oh my God, I'm part of this great company and this great vision. But he's flawed, just like me, just like all of us. Steve Jobs is.
Okay, I'm a mobile judge. Dude. I still judge everybody. I don't worry about it.
It's
You even
natural.
have to read the damn book. That's what I do.
Yeah.
He standing on the boardroom table, crying, screaming like that. I mean, that dude he had a couple screws loose. There's one story too where he made a kid cry and kicked him out of his office, and then dude was just crying in the lobby. And Steve came out, like, "Okay, man, sorry. What'd you have to show me? Do you remember what it is he had to show him? He found out how to make the bubble effect when you scroll over something, and he's like, I did this, and he's like, okay, cool, you're hired.
Yep.
Sorry, I made you cry. Loony,
we're going to adopt your idea into all of our tech.
I think one of the best pictures in that book too is him and Gates sitting in the same room. Jobs has his shoes off, he's barefoot and stuff like that, and Gates all buttoned up. It's the two of them chatting. It's just interesting that to be a fly on the wall there.
Oh my goodness. Well, and their relationship was interesting, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. It was like a love-hate thing. And now that Steve Jobs is dead and towards the end of his life, it kind of had this mutual respect, but they didn't really like each other's plans.
They hate each other. They're in the same club, that little computer club, that little garage computer. Then when Wojo's in there, that's
right.
So what's such a fascinating story. I do recommend the book. I don't know if Rob's recommending the book, but I would highly recommend the book. Excuse me, for nothing else, to find out where our computers have come from, the minds that gave us all this stuff.
And that was only like 40 years ago, right? 84, I think, is when Apple was founded. When Bill Gates was doing his thing, computers were expensive, out of reach for most people. And then the cost started to come down, and they both had different operating models and operating systems. Jobs preferred the closed system that Apple controls, still does to this day. Microsoft is more like, we'll license our stuff to anybody that makes a PC.
Yeah, that's right. Viruses, bring them. Let's go. Yeah, we'll start a whole new industry on just battling the viruses that are on our software. Yeah, not very fun. Yeah. And it's funny because you talk about inventions and things like that. Al Gore makes an appearance.
Yes,
You can see how shady our political system is in there because he was on the board, or might still be on the board of Apple. And he invented the internet. So yeah, it's good.
Makes sense.
Al
Al Gore put on there for his technological know-how.
Yeah, right.
On the board.
Well, I put it all in a lockbox.
Mm-hmm.
Moron. Hey, do you, Robbie? I'm just going to let you. Do we want to cover the story about Crump and this kid?
Yeah, play the video. So this is Ben Crump is an attorney who represents a lot of families whose loved ones were killed by police.
He is okay. Let's call him what he is. He's a race baiting. He's a race baiting, ambulance chasing. But I saw him on the news last night, and I was at a restaurant, so there was no audio. So I was like, oh, come on. Here, when I see him, it's like when Reverend Al Sharpton shows up. It's like, oh, boy, here we go. Somebody's just trying to make money on something. Somebody's just, a flavor of the month. I'm like, oh, I hate it when this guy shows up. Then I looked at the story. Then I saw the police cam. I'm like, go Crump. Let's go, dude. Go Crumpy, Crump. Because this kid was killed. Period. End of story. Here you go. It's graphic. It's violent. But here it is. This was a Air Force veteran. This kid, good-looking kid. There's a cop showing up, and he asked essentially, was there a disturbance? I was called.
What's going on? I'm not sure. I just was told to let her know if you guys come by, so I'm going to give her a quick call.
So that's the office manager. There's a Karen in the apartment complex that said, if the cops show up, let me know, and I'll tell them everything that this person is doing. So they connect with her.
I'm not sure, 2 weeks ago, I was walking by their apartment basically on this side, and I was hearing someone yell like, shut the fuck up, like you stupid B word on the phone, and I just stopped, right after it, but I wasn't sure where it came from, and I couldn't call it, I didn't want to call the police.
Okay, so here's the deal. So this Karen is already a cop. When a cop shows up, and Rob and I know cops. Rob and I love the people of the Pinal County Sheriff's Department. They've been so open and just here's everything. We have nothing to hide from you guys, and they knock the ball apart. They're fantastic humans. Well, when they show up to a call, they're a little amped up. Like, you don't know what you're going to get into. None of these people know what they're going to get into. This cop does not know what he's going to get into. This Karen over here is now amping him up, is completely poisoning his well on what he's about to see. You are about to go face to face with a man that she's claiming slaps his girlfriend, calls her all these vile names. That's what you're up against right now. Anyway. So he gets to the door, and he's going to knock on the door, say, Sheriff. Okay, maybe he's not. Here we go. There we go.
Sheriff's office, open the door!
Sheriff, open the door. Here we go.
Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
He died from those 6 shots on the way to the hospital. He did have a firearm in his hand. If you watch it quickly, it is at his side. He didn't know what was going on. And so he answered the door. He had a firearm in his hand, and he was executed immediately. Now, that's the reason why I'm like, okay, Crump, well, go do your thing on this one, because as much as I understand, Rob and I have been through shoot, don't shoot scenarios, and I will tell you, I capped everybody. You were so amped up. You were so amped up. And it's a video, and you know it's a video. You know it's fake, but you still have this adrenaline rush. Like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? That cop did not have to just open fire the first time you saw a black man with a firearm in his hand. It's just no. I'm sorry. I'm tore up for this kid's family and that kid, obviously.
And see, this is the thing that this has happened numerous times. An incident like this, where training and tactics need to be questioned, because I get it. You see a gun, you shoot, but it should be more specific in that, is the gun in a threatening position? Because you certainly can, and I understand, but if he's raising his arm, okay, different story, right? But if it's just down by his side, how many of us have firearms in our cars in Arizona? Very gun-friendly state where we live. Mike does, I do, a lot of our friends do. So cops are accustomed here to seeing guns. Now, maybe it's not on us, maybe it is. But Mike, you've had interactions where you've explained to the police officer where the firearm is, and you ask, how do I proceed? What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
And that's the appropriate way to do it. And it's also a traffic stop. But what comes to mind is the Philando Castile case in Minneapolis. This happened a few years ago. It was a black man, motorist, has his concealed carry permit, got his firearm on him. He shows the officer, and the officer just unloads on him.
Yeah.
He was not a threat. He just legally owned a firearm. This man is in his legal right to go to the door with a firearm. It's not illegal to do that.
Correct.
He's still in his house. It's his domain. There clearly needs to be, because again, this is something that has happened periodically throughout the years. I don't know how you retrain police officers that are in the field, but I would imagine that that's a priority because stuff like this just should not happen.
Yeah.
Or should happen once a decade.
And I'm throwing, you know me in the culpability pie. I'm throwing a fat slice on that Karen. That guy might have just shown up and just said, dude, look, okay, there was a disturbance. I don't know, there's an argument or whatever. And he might not have been that amped up. But he already had a scouting report on this kid going up there that might not have even been accurate.
Right.
She said she heard a slap.
And some are parking on this side.
You ever heard a slap behind, through walls in the other side of an apartment? No. And if you did, by the way, who said he slapped her? I mean, there is no reason for her to give this, just completely poison this cop's well all the way up there. He had to have been amped.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much going on here. I just think that, and I understand that. But again, I do understand the cops getting amped up because every time you go to a call or pull someone over, you're amped because you don't know what's about to happen.
But that's the gig, right? And that's, you know that when you sign up, and if you can't handle those adrenaline rushes in an appropriate way, you might be better served in the office.
Yeah.
You might be better served doing something else and being honest with yourself about that rather than trying to push through it, struggle through it, you're a manly if you do this, because it is difficult. It is in situations most of us never have to face, thankfully so. And I give the cops a lot of breathing room. But I don't find it a problem when you say policing can and should be better for police officers and for civilians, where you show up to someone's house in their home and you don't just blast them because they have a firearm not pointed at you. And again, maybe I'm wrong here, but this has happened numerous times where people die that don't have to die.
Right.
And that makes police look bad, and that might rise more anti-police sentiment and might lead to more of what we're seeing in college campuses. I'm just saying there are effects to this type of video that go beyond policing. So it's in police's best interest to figure out how to do a better job of this.
Yeah, and that's why I absolutely love body cams. I think body cams, overwhelming amount of times, does it protect the cop? And the cop was like, no, he had a gun. No, he didn't. He didn't. Then you go to the camera like, oh, actually, he was pulling his gun. Yeah, actually, okay, I see that now. There's several videos that I watch. I watch all these videos. I think they're fantastic. They're fascinating to me. These body cam videos are just fascinating because it gives you the real deal. Can't hide. There's no editing going on here. I mean, you get the real deal. And one I saw, this guy went down to, he would basically fell down, and the cops just unloaded on the guy. And I was like, what the hell? What am I watching here? This is absolutely absurd. Then they slowed down the body cam, and he literally had the gun by his waist and pulling it up like this at the cop. I'm like, okay, body cam.
Right. Well, I love that. And again, a lot of this is training, right? You train so that you automatically react in stressful situations. So to me, what I see here is there's a gap. There's a gap. See a gun, you shoot. You see a gun, you shoot. You see a gun, you shoot. And you train for that over and over and over and over again. That's going to be your natural reactions. Like Kobe shooting a jump shot from the 3-point line. He's done it a billion times in practice. So he knows what to do in a game. Boom, he just shoots. Doesn't think about it, just rolls through it. Same thing. And I've read about this consistently over the years in incidents like this, how much training is really for a different time than it is now.
Yeah. And
could be updated quickly and easily, but for some reason is not. So, it's just
government.
Oh, that's it, right? And at the end of the day, as much as I do appreciate police officers, they are government agencies, and they aren't always going to be forthcoming. They're not always going to say, you know what? Obviously, we need to retrain our officers in this case because something like this shouldn't happen. I understand that it's a dangerous situation. There are firearms present, but maybe tactically there's something the officer could be different. Instead of being straight up in the door, he's off to the side.
Yeah, right.
He's like over here at the door crack and he's talking. He's like, do you have a firearm? If you do,
or if he sees it, and that's why he said he shot, I mean, dude, just take steps to the side and then draw your firearm. Tell him to at least give him a command.
Yeah, exactly.
Some kind of command. And
exactly.
But then again, my life wasn't in danger. His life was in his eyes. So we got to go back to that too. Hey, y'all, I got a question for you. Rob and I, we had 2 years on air, 3 hours a day, where we talked about two subjects. We talked about COVID and we talked about Donald Trump. That's all we talked about because that was all that was new. The entire news was dominated by it. That's all we talked about. And so much so that it got us a little a little fatigued. How about that? There's a lot going on with Donald Trump today. There's a lot going on with Joe Biden today. And in this hour of programming, you didn't hear either of those names until now. This is something that we think that there is a need for, a want for, in talking about news and what matters and events and whatever, and Rob and I's knuckleheadness, and not just everything Trump, everything Biden, because it's all been played out. There's nothing those two can do that would surprise anybody at this point because we know them cold. So let us know right here in the comments if you could, if this is something, this kind of programming is something that I know Rob and I enjoy. I think we're dang good at it, and I think we can have a lot of fun communicating with you guys and just having fun talking about topics that aren't the same old thing. Let us know, will you?
Like super weapons in Antarctica.
Yeah, like all Mike's crazy conspiracy theories. I'm just fact finding, damn it. I'm not I'm not sitting at barbecues talking about this. I made Rob some wild boar bratwurst yesterday. It's fantastic. Dang, it was so good. I'm not sitting around talking about barbecues. I'm talking around, hey, so did you hear about this child documentary that Avicii and Anthony Bourdain and Chris Cornell were making? I actually look and find if I can find pieces to the puzzle. I'm not conspiracy theory guy with the yarn all over the darn place. Although I've been tempted. I have been tempted.
But I'd love to see that. I'd love the next time I come over your house. I'm like, there it is. There's a conspiracy chart.
Yeah, we got to talk about Mike. He's
up too long.
Yeah, so fortunately got him.
He moved into a bunker. Yeah, I don't know what happened. He moved into a bunker. He's got things on the wall. He's looking like Mel Gibson in the movie.
Yeah, right. Unbelievable. Hey, y'all, let us know what you think. We just love to have fun with you. We'd love to have fun with you talking about stuff that isn't. We talk about AI, talk about stuff that isn't the same old stuff that you're hearing everybody else. Let us know if you want that. We're going to deliver it to you, and we have some ideas. Things going to come in about a month. So, let us know what you think. Other than that, have a great weekend. It's going to be hotter than you-know-what's and you-know-what's out there this weekend, but still find some time to get out, breathe, get some fresh air, some vitamin D, get the feet on the ground, and just, have a great, enjoyable weekend. Robbie, thanks for hanging out, buddy. And thank y'all for hanging out. We'll see you Monday at 4.